Hey, welcome back to the What If Universe. I Drew here bringing something new. Oh, wait, what's going on here?
It's
We have a show.
I mean, I know we got a show, but I gotta look good for the show. And with the Mario hat and stuff like that, I'm thinking Nintendo might replace Chris Pratt with me.
Anyways, we have Chris Pratt, the original.
The original Chris Pratt.
But we have StevDes here.
What's up? What's up, everybody? StevDes here. Woo!
I invite a very rare What If YouTuber who shows
Very
their face because there's only a few that I know who actually do that.
At the time, it's like I mean, I felt that was the easiest way. Boomer logic said, you know what? Get a nice camcorder and just go for it because you're active enough. Show people that activity. So that's what I did, and then the voice acting came later. It just seemed to fall in place. That's why I decided to be like this.
Yeah, I think it's funny with me considering that now I have gone to a convention, so some people do know what I look like, but because I didn't post any photos or anything, there's only like a few photos with me in my costume. It's like,
I gotta come up with a costume. I gotta come up with a costume because one of my goals for 2022 is to go to Kamehacon. So there you go. Y'all heard it first.
That, I think did I tell you that I had a panel for that?
Oh, you have a panel for Kamehacon?
Yeah, I had it for this year.
Nice. I gotta go to that.
Yeah, I think SSBA's recorded it. It was. I will say this for my first panel. It was alright. The first half was kind of iffy because both of us never done a panel before. Afterwards, it was pretty good. So
wow.
To get into it.
That's crazy. I'm glad that you had your first panel, though.
Well,
that's insane.
Well, it was kind of dreadful because I'm in an outfit fairly similar to this that I'm wearing right now. So you have to imagine a leather type of coat. It's super long. Like
leather joke. Maybe not as many belts on the chest.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a belt design, and like it's more of a traditional like zipper, like something that
nice,
more practical.
Yeah.
Than how this looks.
It's not on the cover. I have a black jacket that actually my job gave me. It's got a pocket here, got two inner pockets, two outer pockets, and a zip in the middle. It's a really nice jacket. So I didn't think that retail. I'll keep it broad. I didn't think that a retail position would offer jackets like this, but no, it's real comfortable and real secure. All I need to do is take out the name of the store right here, and it would be legit for like a costume of some kind. So
you could probably go to like an alteration store.
Yeah,
probably have like a patch there that covers it up.
Oh yeah, you know what? I could do that. I could put the Capsule Corp logo on it and show up at Kamehacon. That'd be great.
Nice.
That would be awesome. That would be really cool.
I think I might keep my same outfit and just be like Time Patrol trunks or something. Be like, yeah, this is totally what this outfit is. Someone thought it was All for One. That was really funny. I like
All for One. Like, see,
it kind of makes sense with it.
I wish I knew more about other animes, but I don't. I like Dragon Ball. That's why I'm a Dragon Ball and video game What If YouTuber, because there's a lot of worlds in video gaming that I know because I'm more of a gamer than an anime nerd. The only place that I know All for One from is from Devil Artemis's channel. So the meme videos.
That's a pretty funny introduction.
It's the only thing I know about it. I was just like, okay, this guy's, I'm sure he's a threatening villain, but we're talking about the Devil Artemis universe, where a shotgun erases you from reality.
So speaking about like Dragon Ball, what kind of got you into that sphere?
The typical answer, Masako. That's the short answer. The long answer is, well, I first started the channel as a Let's Play channel at the time where Let's Play channels were already dominated. You got Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, you got all these different Let's Play What If YouTuber, or not what if YouTubers. YouTubers. Sorry, I'm flubbing my words.
I can't wait for Jacksepticeye to do What If was Adulterum Part 2.
Yeah. What if Sam the Eye? Oh boy, getting some lag. Oh boy. There we go. We're good now. We're good. All right. Technical errors means it's going to be a good show. We learned that in Gulf City.
Mark Zuckerberg has not improved the metaverse yet. It's kind of laggy at the moment.
Yep. So the what was I going to say? Yeah. So what got me into it? I first did Let's Plays. At the time, all the Let's Players and all that, and I wasn't really going very far. I felt like, you know what? I want to build a community, but I don't want this to be. I don't want it to be like I changed my content purely because I wanted the successful YouTube dream. I wanted it to be. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I looked at myself. I was like, what do you like to do? What do you like to do? Because that's what YouTube's about, is sharing what you like to do with people who might be interested in the same thing. I said, I like telling stories. So oh, you just let him in? Okay. Yeah, thank you. I like telling stories. So I said, okay, well, what type of stories would people be interested in? And it's about that time I was watching Masako regularly, and there was the one video, I think it was what if Giro and Frieza teamed up? I think is that one. I forget. I know it was in that one. I think Masako said, if you are interested in doing this, we want to encourage it. And so that's what I referenced in my very first What If video, What If Vegeta Was Born Female, is I took Masako's quote and I put it on screen. And I said, you know what? I can do this. And sure enough, my subscribers doubled. I got more comments. People started enjoying the content. I said, let's keep this going. I think I can come up with some good stories, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Dragon Ball. It could be video gaming, because I know video gaming. And that's when I came out with What If Sonic Never Met Tails, I think was the first video game What If. I forget what the very first video game What If was, but that was my first one that I got consecutive parts out of. It became a trilogy.
My favorite more recent video game What Ifs I've been watching is Halo What Ifs, because
I'm
working on the largest Dragon Ball What If project, including the Halo universe.
Ooh.
There is so many stupid, broken stuff in that universe you have to account for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know Halo too well? I don't know if you do.
I don't know Halo very well. I know the general lore. I don't know like the comic lore, but I did do a couple. Like I did a couple of videos for a Halo What If.
Okay.
I did What If Master Chief woke up sooner.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like at the end of Halo 3, he goes to sleep. He goes in that stasis tank. He goes to sleep. Well, instead of 4 years, let's cut that down to 1 year. So
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, he landed right in the middle of the civil war that the Arbiter was in with all the rest of Sang Helios, and the civil war that happened between all the different sects of what was left of the Covenant after everything happened. So he's just brought into the middle of it. The whole plot I was going to center it around was Master Chief ends up on Sang Helios, and Arbiter outright tells him, hey, we need your help. Contact the UNSC. And the UNSC sent one ship.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it wasn't the Forward Unto Dawn. I think it was the Infinity that they sent. I forget. I know it's at the end of part 2 on my channel. But I need to read more Halo lore so I can continue that series.
Yeah. When I was working on this, I was talking Dragon Star, you know him pretty well. It's like, hey, it seems like a cool idea. And I was like,
it is.
These precursors almost scale like where Kais are with their feet.
Mm-hmm.
They made planets.
Yeah.
Things that can scale up to Supreme Kai. It's like, I don't know how to do that.
I mean, heck, you could even argue, as far as precursors, you threw that out there, the Jack and Daxter universe is run by friggin' Otzels. So think about it.
The last point where he wrote it is that when the precursors basically died, they turned into Majin Buu. that was the end result instead of the
Wow. That's a jump.
Well, that's a good jump. Cool to try explaining what happened to Boo, like, scientifically. It's like, okay, that's what happened. Like, he's just an amalgamation of all these precursors, and that's why
that's legit.
Boo's that strong.
Yeah, that's legit.
But that obviously leaves a lot of stuff open, so...
It does leave a lot of stuff open, but that also helps what if YouTubers keep their content original. If you have open avenues that you can go through and experiment with, then that's something that can, if done right, enhance your content. I'm struggling writing the next part of What If Kid Buu Turned Good, because the next part has to do with the Copy Vegeta saga. And Copy Vegeta, as we know, was made from the evil water that was on that planet. Well, how does the evil water fit in if you were to use something like that on a being like Majin Buu, who's already gummy liquid? Would he be able to just push it out?
That's a very odd scenario.
Yeah, would it make a copy of him, but he still keeps his powers? What happens there? So I'm kind of like, it's an open-ended question.
The thing with filler, there's so much openness with it. Like,
yeah,
you could do a what if where the black water mist is that water from the Copy Vegeta saga, and that's a what
right.
if right there.
Right, where the black water mist water was just on another planet. Yeah, I could see that.
Like, there's definitely fun things you could do with that.
Right.
Perfect. But speaking of what we just talked about, how do you handle, like, problem solving for what if? Like, you run into something, like, how do you try to solve the problem?
Yeah, I have a whole series on my channel dedicated to that called DFU. It literally stands for Did I Up? And
yeah.
I address that because if I do run into a problem, I think it through and I think, okay, is there a legitimate way that I didn't say in this video that could explain that? In the case of, I guess, I've answered a lot of it already. I have to go back and think about whatever defus I've done, but once I answer it on those videos, it just out of my mind. It's in the past. If someone has the question, I'll just ignore the comment, and I hate saying that I'll ignore the comment, but I'll ignore the comment because I've answered it. If there isn't a legitimate way to get around a plot point that I may have messed up, then I outright say, okay, let's take this a different direction, rewrite that part of the timeline. This is the video that I'm rewriting that part of the timeline. That's why that whole series exists. Because if I did... gotta move that. If I did screw up in a bad way that I can't explain myself out of, I say, okay, I was wrong. Let's take a step back, think this through. And then it just ends up being one straight video where I've answered all the logistic questions that come with a what if. When I'm writing the what if, I try to avoid having those problems. I try to think it out. I look up, first off, I look up the previous parts that I've done, and I listen to them, or I read them. Most of the time I don't want to do that because that adds views that aren't right. They're my views.
Yeah,
and
fair enough.
I'll load them on this desktop right here in the background. You can't see it on your screen. I'll load it up on the desktop in the background and watch that. If I'm at work or something, I'll just suck it up and listen to myself on YouTube, unfortunately. Then I think, okay, what's going to happen next? What's the most logical step forward? And I think about where I am in the timeline. I look up what happened at that time in the timeline. I watch for... I just look up individual pieces, the most important pieces. Like, you wouldn't spend 5 minutes explaining that Android 18 beats Hercule in the World Tournament. You wouldn't waste 5 minutes on that.
Unless you gave them something that's noteworthy, then no.
Right.
You probably would not waste that much
right.
time for that.
Yeah, so that's why I'd be like, okay, so this happens. That's the timeline that happens consistently. And you go through the timeline and be like, okay, can I fit this into 15 minutes? I have a notepad here. Go ahead and show. This is what I write all of my stories on. Okay. Good old paperback. I don't know. It's not going to show because it's all blurry. It's focused on my face. But I show it on paper. No one will see my notes. You're right. No one will see my notes. So, yeah. So let's see. Let's show an actual part. So this is what I've written so far for What If Krillin Was Born Female, Part 6. And usually these scripts with one page is 3 minutes per page. Because I have to act it out. I have to think, okay, what is my motivation when it comes down to certain scenes that I've written? So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and at the end, I'm not sure if it'll show, but at the end it'll say like ciao or outro, just all in one, whatever's left of the page. And I use several different colored pens to indicate characters that I'm going to play. So if I need to pull out Krillin, I'll just grab the red pen and I'll write all of her lines in the red pen. If I have to pull out Vegeta, then I'll write all of his in the pink pen because he wore the pink shirt. So, something like that. So I'll do that whenever I'm writing the script. And again, as I'm writing, if I notice something that's not right, I'll pull out the whiteout. I have no shame in using whiteout. Absolutely no shame. If I see something factual that I wrote that I'm like, wait, no. That is fan fiction. That is cringy fan fiction you just wrote on that page. Get rid of it. I'll stop. I'll think about the scenario. I'll think about what the most logical conclusion, the most logical thing I can come up with, as far as what the character's going through, what is happening currently in the story. And then I'll continue writing until I have 5 pages, and 5 pages is a video.
I think what happened with me over time, I tried to take things more seriously, but then I realized that's not how I am as a person. So I started doing more bizarre things, like for the What If Chi-Chi Died During Gohan series. That was a joke me and Dragonstar thought of. And we're like... Jeez,
that's dark.
It was like, why don't we turn the whole video into a joke? So it's a whole arc about Raditz laying to Gohan, the fact that they both lost their parent. And it changes him enough.
Wow!
So later in Snake Way, he goes to train with Goku. That's literally... the parallel that happens.
So that's how you get Raditz in the scenario. Like, Raditz is an odd creature. Like,
well, it's interesting because when Gohan's kidnapped, he's kind of curious about it. It's like, well, who's your mom? It's like, have one. And he kind of thinks about that because he was never had to think about his own parents at that point.
Fair. Oh, man.
Like, logically it makes sense, but not where the story goes.
Not realistically, and you're never going to get real. Like, I made this comparison when I committed the ultimate what if sin, and I watched Goku T23 videos. I watched one of his videos, and I gave an honest opinion, an honest critique of it. It was what if Goku was born a Saiyan Kai. Even the title is like, what the hell is a Saiyan Kai? How do you get a Saiyan and a Kai? That doesn't make any sense. So I went through the video. I gave my authentic reaction. There was even some things that I went through that I was like, okay, that part makes sense. Everything else does not make sense.
Does that mean Bardock F'd the tree? That's how Goku.
That's the part that's messed up, because he didn't consider Kais come from trees. Saiyans come from monkeys.
That would have been funny.
That would have been funny. But what he did was
really liked this tree.
I'll go ahead and spoil the beginning for you. I doubt I have to worry about that with your fan base, but the whole thing is centered around Goku being reincarnated with Kai Ki. Not God Ki, Kai Ki. Because there's 3 different key systems as we've discovered when Super came out. There's God Ki, Kai Ki, regular Ki. God Ki can't be sensed by mortals. Kai Ki can be sensed by mortals, but mortals can't fathom the limit of it. And then you have Mortal Ki, which we can all sense. So, when it comes down to the Kai Ki, making him a Kai doesn't really change a whole lot, except he gets trained by Supreme Kai. The way he had it was, he was stillborn Goku, and this is his legitimate, like you still can't name him Goku. Grandpa Gohan named him Goku. He would still be Kakarot. That's one reason. That's one thing that I have a problem with it.
I think this would have made a neat reincarnation story. Like,
right,
you just died to Raditz, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
It's
so
like,
as far as a reincarnation story,
to turn to a Kai.
I can see that. I can see that. The way
I think his explanation's not bad. It's not explained well enough, though. You can't
it's not
the same character.
Yeah, like aspect. One major gripe I had about Part 1 is when the time came, like, the Supreme Kai wished this on the Namekian Dragon Balls long in the past. Around the time that Majin Buu had his heyday with the realm of the Kais. That's when he wished that a warrior would be born, similar to a Kai, out of the Saiyans. Because apparently he knows what a Saiyan is, even though the first time he met a Saiyan was in the Buu Saga. Anyway,
I mean, that's also a weird Toriyama plot hole, because they created the planets. You would assume they would know what they created.
You would assume they would know about Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God and all of that good stuff.
I don't think they'd know about that, but I feel like they'd know, like, base generalizations, like, oh, this is Earth, this is where humans live. It's like,
right.
This is where the other people live. Like,
so, what Supreme Kai basically did was, after Kakarot was born, he was put into the capsule that we see in the Super Broly movie, and before the planet blew up, he poofed in, yoinked the baby, and poofed out. So, like, that's one big gripe that I have with it. Like, okay, hold on. You took the baby, but the mother's still there. And the father's still there. And several other Saiyans are still there.
Nah,
why wouldn't
Supreme
you?
Kai's just evil, and he just kidnapped Goku.
He just kidnapped baby Goku. That's all I did.
This seems like something I would do as a joke.
Yeah. And the whole thing, to me, seemed like a very cruel prank. It really did. I've said this in the video, and I'll say it again, just so that people on your channel don't think that I belittle anybody else's ideas. I have no problem with Goku T23 as a person. I haven't even met him. How can I have that kind of opinion about someone I haven't met? It's wrong.
I don't either. I think, to scale him, I think he's just a step above what I do. He just goes a bit further out. I try to justify my insane choices by saying, like, yes, the character would do this underneath this scenario. Yeah. Even though logically, they probably would have not done it, most likely.
That's the fun part of writing a what if, is taking some things out of the realms of reality where you didn't think you would have that sort of freedom. You have the freedom to write what you want. It's up to you how close to the plot you want to be. Me, I like being logistic as much as possible. I make one little change. Like, you can even argue, oh, well, Krillin being born female, for example. That's not much of a change. Krillin's female, so she doesn't get with 18. What, she'll get with 17? Which I did think about that plot point. Her saving 17 and getting with 17 as opposed to 18. But then, as I was writing the first part, I was like, hold on. This is more interesting. So in my timeline, she's with Vegeta.
That sounds like a very interesting...
She's with Vegeta because she's a martial artist. She's a warrior. She stood, like, in that timeline, she stood up to Dodoria when someone with her pitiful power level would not have, which would have impressed Vegeta. So he sees in her something salvageable, regardless of her being a weak human. She is a warrior, and he respects that. What was it that Vegeta said to us about Goku and Chi-Chi and Vegeta and Bulma and Piccolo is in the background?
Saiyans like strong women.
Right, and thanks to Krillin, or in this timeline, Quillin, it's Kuillin, in this timeline having Bulma as a gal pal and Bulma's with Yamcha, she got the nice talk where you have to stand up for yourself. You have to tell the man what the rule is. You need to show your backbone as much as his backbone, and you'll both bring out good things in each other. And so she did. By being as hard-headed as she is, did she expect to get with Vegeta? No. But Vegeta likes it. And now I have a timeline where Quillin has 2 kids. So that's where the fanfiction-y aspect comes in. There's a legitimate reason for that fanfiction-y aspect. I'm not just throwing something at the wall, but these are 2 characters that I have to write for now.
That's understandable.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I focus on the small changes, or what seems like a small change, and I heavily influence the butterfly effect. Whereas one little change can spread out to all these different changes. That can happen.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the end of that question.
How did you learn how to be comfortable filming on set, in person? How do you overcome that?
It's okay. When it came down to it, I think it had to do with my origins as doing the Let's Plays. Okay. Because I played a few different games. I played Cuphead. I played Tales from the Borderlands, which is the Telltale ones. All right. I played several, and I would give people my character. And then I ended up playing Bendy and the Ink Machine before they updated it. And when they updated it, I went back to it. Only when I went back to it, I said, I want to do something more, because people know Textile Schmidt as a text person that edits my videos. Spoiler warning, he's not real. I am Textile Schmidt. But for the point of the videos, he's a character.
That makes sense.
So I did a thing called StevDes Quest, where I recorded a section of Bendy and the Ink Machine. I grabbed one of the empty cans. Actually, I have an empty can right here from soda I drank earlier. I grabbed one of the empty cans, and it was a black screen. I was like, hey, what are you... And I made that sound effect.
Yeah.
Something happened. And StevDes Quest is all about me, because I'm a coward, going through a horror experience, first person, and for some reason, I am now Henry. Everything that Henry says, I mimic, I voice act, and go through the entirety of Chapter 3, trying to get through to the end. All the while, I'm in the middle of a horror game, and horror games are horror games. I don't like jump scares. You can put all the gory stuff you want. I don't mind it. When Resident Evil 2 remake came out and they had Leon going through the hallway and then he comes across one of the dead policemen and he's just got a big chunk of flesh missing here. You can see all the way back to his throat. It's real gory. I looked at that and I was like, that's cool. You put me in front of something like Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm not gonna be happy.
I mean, I'm not gonna. Fair, jump scares are kind of cheap to an extent.
They are cheap.
Surprise. Yep.
Yeah. They are cheap, but
you can make a simulator about surprise birthday parties, and you have to walk into random rooms not to get surprised.
Not knowing.
Some people scare you surprise.
But you see, it's the jump scares that get me, because I like things being out in the open, whereas Resident Evil 4 was the first horror game I ever beat, only because the jump scares were extremely minimal. Extremely. They were working on creep factor, they were working on it being more of an action game than a horror game, and to its credit, it works. But when it comes down to jump scares, there's not a lot in that game. So I was able to get through it relatively decently without being scared too much. Bendy and the Ink Machine? No. There's a lot of jump scares in that. There's one when the Butcher Gang is first introduced. You have to activate a switch that's down a hall and around a corner, down at the end of a hall. And there's a poster in the background of the cartoon characters, the Butcher Gang. And I was looking at this. This is where I ended one of the StevDes Quest episodes, where I was staring down the hallway. I was like, no. Oh, no. Because I know that jump scare was going to happen. You're going down a long hallway that's cel-shaded and very monotone. Like, the whole game is pretty monotone. And you don't expect something to pop out at the end of a long hallway where you got to activate the switch? I was like, yeah, something's going to happen. No. And I ended the episode. Then, at the beginning of the next episode, I had to psych myself up. I was like, bring it on! Bring it on! As soon as the jump scare happened, legitimately, my hand shook all around. And I was like, ah! And that's when I realized I'm very active. I'm very active when it comes down to this. I was able to act out the whole thing of StevDes Quest. So back to your question, long and convoluted explanation as it is, I got into recording myself because I realized how much of a character I am because of the Let's Play. Because I had that, it was a lot easier. But my advice to anyone that would do this, like show yourself on camera, someone very close to me told me this. As long as you keep your end of the street clean, nobody can fault you for anything. So, that's why I do this, because I want to be legit. I want to show my fans me as a person. I don't want to show, like, no offense to any of the VTubers. I love the VTubers out there.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey! Don't worry, you're doing good, man. But I don't want to hide. I don't want to hide behind a character. I want to show people me, and I have that drive. Not everybody's got that drive, and I understand that. But I want to show people who I am, as far as being a legitimate YouTuber. I don't want to be that popular YouTuber where if I have any close friends who don't do YouTube, people are looking at them and I hanging out like, look at them, they're freaking clout chasers. No, they're not clout chasers, they're my friends, you know? Like, I've been in that situation too many times with other streamers.
I think I'm in a scenario where I don't want to be in person to put other people in danger. I think
Which
that's
is
an
fair.
Interesting aspect to think about.
That is fair. For me, it's a lot of my close friends I don't hang out with much. I'm very much boring as far as that's concerned. That's where I do the YouTube, to let a lot of that character out. Like, I let a lot of the character that I show to people on the channel because it's from inside. I don't act as goofy as my videos out in public. But
yeah, it's understandable.
If I'm hanging out with friends in a private setting, then I'm like, hey, let's go. Yeah, you know, I'll pull out the voice acting. I was on a live stream the other night, for example, with a furry VTuber. His name's North Dog.
That's cool.
Yeah, he was doing marbles on stream for his community night because Phasmophobia decided to break. And he invited us to be co-hosts. Well, in the chat, people loved my voice and was like, you can do a hosting thing. You can voice act and stuff like that. I was like, I do voice acting. And he said, you could do Mr. Torg from Borderlands. Now, I don't know if you know Mr. Torg, but he's got very much a similar voice to Hercule.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of just pulled it out. Let me just lube the throat a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine.
Don't take that dirty shut up comment. So, you know, I pulled out the Mr. Torg. That sentence had too many syllables. Apologize! You know, I just pulled it out. People were going nuts. You're like, oh my god, it's Mr. Torg! What? So, from the beginnings as a Let's Player, I was able to have I was able to have the confidence to put myself on camera, and then have the confidence to animate myself more and act more like the character I know I am, that I don't get to act like in public, that I don't like acting like regularly whenever I work, whenever I go out to shop or anything like that.
I mean, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
I think with me, it's like...
Oh boy, dog's barking.
Dog. Okay.
Dog.
It's whatever. It's not too loud, honestly.
Yeah, I hope it's just fine for the stream. It's one of the dogs that when he heard me act, like, it's one of the dogs that don't like me. So it's like he hears me, it's like, oh, you better not come in. You better not come into this room. You know. Let me actually I'll close my door and let y'all see a blurry Stev's room. There we go.
That's a really nice blurry chair.
All fixed. Ah, and that blob right there is my dog.
Yeah. I'll throw a jump cut somewhere in here.
All right. Yeah. Sorry about that. I know that's editing.
But only you channel members get to see this.
All the YouTube channel members, yeah.
Because you're the only one who get to see raw footage.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, it's never you.
Oh, shoot.
Oops. Have you thought of possibly converting some of your what ifs into like fan manga potentially?
Fan manga? Okay, you know how Masako did the Ranch is a main character for his channel? Yeah. I kind of saw that in the female Krillin one. With how I'm writing Argus, and here's a little bit of it's unreleased yet. You're going to learn the name of her other child, who is also a boy, Kuruda. Right. I decided Kuruda because Kurumi is walnut in Japanese. And according to Google, sarada is salad. So
that doesn't translate wrong.
But since Krillin is a Shaolin chestnut and is married to Vegeta, vegetable, I thought a pun like that would work. So Argus and Kuruda are very much the bully kid persona for Argus, and the we shouldn't make dad kid for Kuruda. So they have that dynamic. So, like, again, going down the spoiler path, because I have to refer to my notes as far as this is concerned. Both of the kids train with Vegeta in the gravity chamber. They go to Capsule Corp often, because Bulma's a friend of the family. And because Vegeta needs his gravity training.
That's fair.
So, they go Super Saiyan, and, it's like, you know, I have Vegeta doing the whole, damn it, of course, it's a Super Saiyan bargain sale. And then Kuruda's just like, is that bad? And of course, Argus is gonna get himself in trouble. Nah, Dad's just scared that we're more powerful than he is now. You know, he's the cocky kid. Just like his father. So I figured if I was gonna make a manga about anything, it would be the interactions of those two kids with Goten and Yamcha and Bulma's kid, which to this point is still unnamed. I don't have a name, or I don't even have an identity if Bulma and Yamcha even had a kid. So that, if I were to make a manga out of any of my what ifs, that would be the one.
I know some people asked me this question as well, and surprisingly, the one that I would pick is a what if right now that currently is not ongoing right now at all, but I did a what if scenario where Alexander Anderson, out of all people, trained Deku. It is a very interesting setup with this.
Oh, I love Alexander Anderson.
And essentially, Deku becomes heavily religious because he feels like he was saved by someone.
That is cool, though!
In that aspect.
He has that personality, though, from what's been spoiled. Like, I haven't seen an episode of My Hero Academia, but what has been spoiled is he seems to latch on to All Might very well, and he's very receptive to any of the superheroes he comes in contact with. He wants to learn from them. So him learning from Alexander Anderson, oh, that's crazy. That's good.
It's just a very bizarre setup, because the idea is that in this timeline, because there's so many heroes, essentially the church is trying to build up like smaller churches everywhere and try to influence with religion.
See, that's a unique thought, though, in the world of My Hero Academia. That is a unique thought.
Because the thing is that the Hellsing organization doesn't exist in this universe. I didn't include it. Or vampires.
Oh.
They have to have a different goal for what they're doing.
Hold on. So you have the religious zealots running around on a wild goose chase, basically?
They're basically building churches everywhere to try to influence people with religion, similar to how the third MHA movie was.
Okay.
And this was even before that movie came out.
So their mission is to just spread the word of Christ, basically.
But in reality, it's more to make sure they have influence in politics and like everything.
That was the case early on with religion, as far as a historical aspect. So that's fair. Oh boy, I feel. You ever feel a burp coming, but it's just hanging out in your esophagus, like.
No, it is.
Yeah, that's what's happening now since I chugged that bottle.
Stuff like that. Still exists today, like it's an actual.
I need to get my phone.
Sect where basically win everyone over.
Okay, I just realized that they're bothering me. I'm sorry.
As someone who switched from doing more stuff by myself to editing for like Anime Sage right now, it's kind of what I've primarily been doing instead of creating my own content. I'm really surprised how far it's getting,
This is good. I mean, I realized with StevDes discussions, people like to hear people hash out their ideas, hash out their what ifs. My mustache is doing that weird thing. People like to see what if YouTubers hash out ideas that they've put. That's why at the StevDes Discord, I do have StevDes discussions. I also have fan discussions, fan questions that you can post. And that's where, if I ever need to fill out a list, like when it comes down to doing a StevDes discussion, I try to get 2 episodes out of it. It's usually a 2.5 hour, maybe even 3 hour recording session.
I genuinely liked the idea when you introduced that, because the only other thing we currently have going on is Masako's What If thing, and an occasional live stream from like Smugstick.
And I like
the other What If things. They're kind of
I like the idea of that though, because the only thing I don't like about Masako doing it is it's the same hosts. It's the same hosts. I can
agree with that.
So mix it up a bit.
Even if you let like Karthu or Smugstick or any other major What If YouTuber,
he mentioned Karthu in one of his videos,
which is funny because he doesn't invite him.
You know, when you mentioned Karthu, Karthu jumped in subscribers when you name dropped him, and you don't invite him to this talk show. Like, come on. That's why I wanted to do StevDes discussions. That's why I have it set up the way it is. I have on my computer right now.
I don't have an issue with the host, but I feel like when you have like hosts for like a podcast or something that goes on too long, you need to throw in a guest every once in a while at least.
Yeah, I get that. Like, you gotta mix up the hosts. You gotta mix up your co-hosts. That way, it's a new experience every time. That's why I have the StevDes discussions organized the way I do. Whereas, oh boy, I hope that AC isn't going on. Whereas slot 1 was my first guest, Kaizenball, which I need to talk to him again. He's legit. He's a good fella. And slot 2 is Dragonstar. Slot 3 is another What If You Did, another one, and another one, another one. So the video files I have on my PC right now that I have to get to editing after I'm done writing the 12 Days of Krampus is is the next part of the StevDes discussion that I had with Dragonstar. Dragonstar, the first StevDes discussion I had, I got 2 videos about it. So since he's slot 2, he's going to be slot 2-1, 2-2. This new video is going to follow under 2-3. So that when people tune into StevDes discussions, let's say they want a certain host. It's organized that way so that if you want to find the one where Dragonstar was with me, look for 2-something. If you want the one where OMAC was with me, I think OMAC 446 was StevDes discussion 4. So you do 4- whatever.
Good idea to do like a playlist system with that.
Yeah, which I would do like, I want to throw all the StevDes discussions in one playlist, but I want it to be organized, whereas you could go to that playlist and be like, okay, I'm looking for number 2. I'm looking for, okay,
what
1,
you
2,
can do
3.
is do a playlist within a playlist. So if I have like popular videos, but underneath it is that current ongoing series, it has multiple playlists for a series I'm currently doing.
Can you put a playlist in a playlist on YouTube?
You can do it on the front page. You can't do it like in the playlist system. So like for our channel, like in your front page, if you check mine right now, it basically has like down underneath there, it's like current ongoing series. So you have like playlists for like what if Dane Train Deku or what if
that's fair.
Something else. But I will say I do need to move for what if Goku stayed single, because man, that video had its own series of issues, and that's mostly because of my fault, because that was basically my first what if.
That's a legit thought, though. What if Goku stayed single? I mean, he went through Chi-Chi pretty effortlessly in the tournament. Like, the only reason how did you put that one together? Like, what was your
my setup initially was he knew the concept of marriage, and he's like, well, I don't really want that.
Yeah. Okay. So he figured out what the concept of marriage. Okay. Who told it? Did Bulma tell him that, or is he still?
It's a long time ago. I think Mondo Cool was the first guest narrator.
Oh, Mondo Cool. That's another what ifer that actually got me into this, because I ended up wanting to do a similar scenario
more recently. I think he switched over to I believe it's fan manga readings, which I have been enjoying those.
I mean, he does legit readings, to be fair. His content is very legit. I like it.
The only thing I would want is if he had like a part-time like person to voice the female characters, because I think that would help with his content.
Yeah, that's. Right now. I know. I mentioned before the recording started. I think I mentioned the furry fandom. One of my voice actors, the voice actress. I say voice actor because I think it's a broad term. The voice actor that played Chi-Chi in What If Goten Was Born First on my channel. She's a furry, but she's also a close friend, and she nailed that role. She nailed it. She knows how to do an angry Chi-Chi, and that's one thing that I think we need to incorporate more, because voice acting is one of my, not one of my strengths, but one of my passions. I love me a good voice actor. Tara Strong, Tom Kenny, Mark Hamill. They're awesome.
I know with my channel I have a few voice actors that come on time to time. Like my favorite one, like if you see the background picture with Hercule being a Super Saiyan, people have been waiting for that.
That's Hercule? I couldn't tell who it was from the distance. Whoa! That's cool!
So, I have SSBA's voice Hercule, but his version is more of like a southern, like, hick version of Hercule, so he's not... So it gives a different tone to where he's from, but because it's What If Hercule's a Saiyan, it kind of makes sense.
It works!
He would sound like a hick.
You would sound a bit more hickish. I do like that.
I know some people don't like that, but that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I do have someone who voices Goku time to time throughout series, and people are like, it doesn't sound exactly like Goku. It's like, I don't know what you expect. Like, I try my best with what I can do, and they try their best. That's what I care about.
I couldn't do Goku. A lot of the time, if there's a character that I have to do for a script, that is like the actual version, I'm gone. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, Like Piccolo. I can do Piccolo very well. I can do Hercule very well. I can't do the legit Krillin. So I'll look at TFSs and be like, what did Krillin sound like? And I'll pull that Krillin up because people recognize that reference.
That's understandable.
So there's I guess the moral of that story would be people are going to have their versions of certain characters. One character I need is a legitimate Goku. Because I can't do Goku and I can't do TFS's Goku. As much as I try. I cannot do Goku.
I think the person who voices Goku for the What If Hercule was Saiyan series. It's a mix between Peter Kalamis' Goku and Sean Schimmel's, basically.
That's a good balance, though. Does he have Sean Schimmel's sort of articulation with his words, or does he just sound like Sean Schimmel's?
He has the articulation, but the voice isn't like exact, so it has like a very it's hard to explain. Like, I think the other part is that his mic quality's phone quality by edit,
right,
so it's a bit better than what people are actually hearing in the video.
Blue Yeti microphone, this is what I use.
Yeah, I mean, I use one as well, but you see it's in the back of the foreground here. People can't see it.
Yeah. In the back of the foreground.
I mean, I don't know how else to explain that.
I was thinking about it too, and you said it. I was like, back of the foreground. Is there a better way to say that? I don't think there is.
But I do want to get back to the thing with Deku, actually, because looking at his personality, a part of my inspiration was Plus Ultraman, actually. I pitched a what if idea to him. He said, just do it yourself, and that's what happened. So I made What If Deku's a Green Lantern. The first video, pretty bad. It's on my second channel now. Redid the first video for that.
And green is the right color for that spectrum. Green is definitely the right color for Deku.
I mean, he could have been blue, possibly, but
fair.
More sense.
Fair. He could have been tempted to the red side.
But I think what was interesting is that there was a lot of people, when I did my own version for What If, Staying Train Deku, people said, oh, you're copying Plus Ultraman. And it's like, I'm not.
No, Plus Ultraman told me to do it.
Well, not that. But the thing what happened is that I did help him write for more of his current parts with his series, but when I was talking with him, it's like, I kind of didn't agree where he took Stain and made him a good guy, because I think Deku is so weak-willed. If he was saved by him, he probably would fall for whatever junk that Stain's pushing.
Probably would. So
that's what happened with my series, basically. And there's a point where Ito literally almost dies.
Ooh.
And Deku, with the last inch of that still left in him, tells him not to do it because he thinks he has potential. And Stain lets him go because of that.
See, like I said, I haven't seen an episode of My Hero Academia, but you know what that makes me want to do? That makes me want to go see My Hero Academia because of the idea that a what-ifer has made around it. It's really cool.
I think the cool thing is that the way I took my What If, there is now a fan manga of that.
Really?
Basically the setup that I initially did for it.
Did they give you credit?
No, they don't have to. I'm sure there was fan fictions before. Whatever.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of fan fictions and stuff. And that's another thing. We just do the ideas that come to mind. If something comes out of it, hey, that's a pretty cool idea. That's cool.
I think the difference is that I'm trying to take a more logical-esque approach, but the thing is I also have to address things that happen. So
yeah,
when Ida goes to the hospital and Todoroki's asking him what's kind of going on, he's very confused. He knows what he was doing was wrong, but he feels bad that Deku's kind of out doing his own thing with Stain. He's not sure what's going on with that.
Yeah.
And they both bond over that because what happened back there.
That's interesting. I might check that one out after this interview. I might check that out just to see, like, okay, what am I missing from my hero?
Well, I think the main thing is that I think Deku pushes people back. I think he is a fairly weak link as far as the story goes, because you either really don't like him starting off, or you kind of understand where he's at, and he's taking things realistically. Because
he had the same thing that what they did with Ahsoka Tano in Star Wars. Because Ahsoka started as an absolutely horrible character. Nobody liked her. She was an annoying Jedi Padawan. But
fun. I remember that show.
Yeah, throughout the series, she got her moments of growth. She became a legit character. She became an important figure in Star Wars Rebels when she made an appearance. She even fought Darth Vader and survived. How many Jedi? I mean, she didn't even go by a Jedi anymore. She goes by a Force user, but she still denounces the Jedi for what happened to her. So she had her, like, initially similar to Deku, I'm sure. She was disliked by a good amount of people, but through the right means, through the several trials and tribulations the characters had to go through, I'm sure, just like Deku, she got her following, and she earned the character development that she so desperately needed. I'm sure if I watched My Hero Academia, I keep wanting to say macadamia, like macadamia nut. Yeah. I'm sure if I saw Mahacademia, Mahacademia, I would kind of see Deku as that sort of character from what's being described here and what little I do know about him.
Well, I think the main thing is that there's some stuff that wasn't accounted for. Like, I think when Plus Ultraman initially did his What If, he wasn't sure where the manga was going. And because some people spoiled me where the manga is going, it's like, Deku isn't as strong-willed as he kind of described. Like,
yeah,
Deku has convictions. I do think he gets that, but I think he only increased it because of All Might, and that changed his mind to believe what he was believing in. I think if someone pitched him an idea that sounds heroic enough, he would probably do it. Like, that's the thing with Stain in particular. Like, at least for my version for it, Deku, I do not believe in killing, but he understands Stain's point of view. It's like heroes aren't doing their job, and it's kind of understandable why he's trying to do it.
I see that side of things. I like staying factual as close to factuality as possible with my what ifs.
Oh yeah, mine has to jump a few bounds because the thing is, like, there's a point in that arc where Stain was about to kill someone, and he did because Deku didn't stop him. And like this random, like, I think his character was called Native. He basically dies, and that kind of shakes up Tenya a bit. It's like, this guy would actually do it.
Wow.
It's gotta be more important for next part because Deku is kind of gonna have to deal with it. He's gonna bring that up, and Stain's either gonna try to justify himself, or maybe he will change a bit.
Yeah, and it's in those situations I would think what's going through the other character's head. What is most likely to happen? Would he stand up for himself? Would he explain legitimately? Or would he just try to brush the question off?
And I think that's going to be the fun thing to think about, because right now, Deku and Stain kind of joined the League of Villains because Stain bragged about his pupil being better than Shigaraki.
Wow.
Because that's the whole setup. And Shigaraki got very mad about it.
Wow. That's legit, though. That's nice.
Yeah, it's a very interesting scenario.
I have to take a look. I have to take a look at that scenario. I have to take a look at My Hero Academia now.
Yeah. I think a character who had the opposite issue would be Eren Yeager. Because people disagree with what happened to him, but the thing is, he's traumatized the whole
He
thing.
is.
Like, if you see him like at the end of like season 3, where his face is all shocked when he's touching the queen, I forget her name at the moment, but you can see like terror like in his face, like seeing everything. Like
I have a limited knowledge of Attack on Titan. I didn't see through to the Beast Titan. It's a good anime, not my cup of tea. But
it's not for everyone. I think that it has a really good arc. I think the first 3 seasons are really good. Season 4 is when people question more of
what's going on.
Well, I think the thing is that Aaron's built to be like a typical like shonen protagonist as people think he's supposed to be built, but the reality is that since the whole manga's out, there's plenty of foreshadowing leading to his decisions that he was gonna make. It's more that he's a broken character brought into war.
Yeah,
and he wants to end everything.
He at first he wants to kill all Titans, then he learns the truth about some of the Titans. He's scarred from that. He's also scarred from his training with the one guy. I think Levi was his name.
The main thing is it doesn't spoil that much. In all honesty, you could get that for the first 2 seasons,
right?
Like you could understand, like maybe he's thinking about this, and he kind of talks a bit about it. Then later on, it's like, oh, it's the person he is.
Yeah, Eren Yeager is one of those characters that stays scarred.
Yeah,
you know, he stays scarred, but that's one of the That's one of the things we like about his character. He stays scarred. He still has his humanity, even though he's got the ability to turn into a humanity ripping apart monster.
And I think that's what's more interesting with Deku, in my opinion, because he has a bit more firmer convictions about himself. But it really depends on who's influenced him in his life, actually, if you go through the story.
Yeah.
Like, whoever confronts him first and is able to convince them that they have a decent argument, he'll probably go for it.
Right.
If he can logically bring himself to think, like, oh, heroes are lazy, like, maybe what Stain did was okay. It's like,
yeah, he seems like an open-ended character. He seems, or like, not an open-ended, an open-minded character. He's open-minded to a lot of different things that apply to him. That's what it seems. Again, I'm guessing because I've never seen My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
But from what's been spoiled, that's the impression I'm getting.
Well, you can make similar comparisons to Goku to agree, because he was willing to spare Frieza despite everything he was doing.
Even though Frieza is single-handedly responsible for the destruction of hundreds of worlds and billions of lives.
Like, I think that's what's fairly interesting about Goku. It's only till after his encounter with them he kind of changes his idea about that.
It was like when I wrote What If Vegeta Was Born Female to kind of tease that one as well. The battle that destroys Namek isn't between Goku and Vegeta or Frieza. It's between Goku and Vegeta, because Vegeta in this timeline has the brother Tarbell, because you have a Saiyan. You have the king of all Saiyans. You have King Vegeta. Females in the Saiyan society, factually, did not get all that much power. I related them to the, I forget if it was Greeks or Romans. I always mix those two up. Whereas women were not just women, they were warrior women. They stayed on the planet to defend the planet. And because a Saiyan's main export was sending babies out to conquer planets, guess who needed to stay planet side? The baby makers. So, in that timeline, Vegeta had to put up with Tarbell. Well, something happened. I'm not going to ruin too much. I want y'all to see the series. Whereas Vegeta became a Super Saiyan and Goku became a Super Saiyan. Frieza was killed. But at this point in the timeline, Vegeta's still a bad guy. So, she and Goku had a face-off, both of them as Super Saiyans, on a planet covered in dead people, a giant sandbox for them to enjoy. Two Super Saiyans going at it's going to destroy a planet. Yeah. It's going to destroy a planet. So that was the catalyst in that timeline. As far as, you know, what it was. Did Goku want to spare Frieza? I didn't go into detail. Yes, Goku would have wanted to spare Frieza. Vegeta would have taken it onto herself and killed him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like underestimate how Goku is a character. Like,
yeah,
the only time he just mass wiped out people is Red Ribbon Army Saga. After that, there's really not many times he's.
And even then, that was like a lot of that was before he even met Ader, because when he met Ader, he had a drastic change of view. You know, he was calling Bulma a witch. He was very skeptical of anything machinery. He was skeptical of any sort of magic that could have gone on in the world. And then he met Ader, who urged him to spare General White, I think his name was.
Dr. Frappy, I think.
Oh yeah, well, not only Dr. Fraps, but who was the main bad guy in Muscle Tower?
Was there.
Yeah, it was there. Yeah, because he saved Ader. Ader guided him to General White, and then he was about to kill General White, and he said, "No. You don't need to go down his path." And that's when Goku had a turn. Ader fulfilled his purpose as far as that's concerned. And then
I think that's something very major to think about.
Yeah.
That's because a lot of people kind of like to skip over. It's like, if there's a reason Goku skips over it and he confronts Piccolo later, Piccolo Jr., you might not have no Dragon Balls anymore and the story's over by Z.
That's why I always, and I know it's, I've had several comments like, why did you include the this saga? It doesn't matter. Excuse me.
There's a couple of times where a saga will still happen regardless, and that's understandable to skip. But if there's some reason where Goku chooses not to go there at all for some reason, that's when you run into some problems. Because
that's where.
Like, everything, he's still somewhat of a nice character, but if someone convinces him, it's like, yeah, Piccolo Jr. is really bad, we should take him out, then he might do it to save humanity.
Right.
You know how powerful he was at that point. Like, biggest thing before Z's happened, basically.
One saga that I always include in my videos, and I've gotten comments like, why do you include this? The Garlic Jr. saga. Where, you know, Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo are the heroes of that one. People were like, well, I don't know why you're going to include the Garlic Juniors. Because it's a saga that happened. It allowed Gohan, Piccolo, and Krillin to realize they could do something if something bad were to happen. If they didn't have the Garlic Jr., let's say they didn't have the Garlic Jr. saga in the future saga.
Well, where you have to consider that with Garlic Jr. in particular, that's more of like a filler-esque item.
Yeah, it is.
I think Otherworld, in my personal opinion, that makes more sense if it was canon to a degree. Because it does affect the story to an extent, but Garlic Jr., for that to work, you have to consider the first movie has to happen instead of Raditz for it to be canon. And that's a very major plot issue.
And I still threw caution to the wind, and that was part one of What If Goten Was Born First. I used the Dead Zone movie to kind of explain where Goten is in his mental processes versus where Gohan would be. Because on paper, you could argue that Goten born that early was just going to be another Gohan. I still wanted to have Goten's personality in that, and Goten's more of a fighter than Gohan is. And he doesn't like studying. I mean, Gohan didn't really like studying, but he was more receptive to it than Goten is.
I think a lot of What If YouTubers randomly consider things about kids. Like, oh, those act the same. It's like, that's not the case. They're still humans as well. If you influence them properly, or they have their own things, like, I don't want to do this, and they'll probably just not do it unless Chi-Chi's aiming for stricter. But the thing is, like, it's Goten.
Yeah, so
probably gonna ignore it.
Yeah, when I wrote that, that's why I said we got to start this in the Dead Zone movie, and I'm considering the Dead Zone movie canon for this What If. Because instead of Goku going home and saying nothing about the energy blast that Gohan threw Garlic Jr. into the Dead Zone with, I said he would be interested because Goten would have paid attention. And instead of just some yell and energy coming out, it would be his first Kamehameha, where he says it wrong. In which case, Goku would be proud. He would show Chi-Chi, and they would come to an understanding. As long as he's doing good in his studies, he's allowed to train with his father, and that makes a much closer family unit. In that timeline. That's why Chi-Chi has as much time as she does. That's why I had to get a voice actor for Chi-Chi. Because I was like, Chi-Chi's more of a character in this timeline. I need someone.
Well, the thing is, like, it depends, like, where the What If YouTuber chooses to go. And this is a rare scenario where you chose to include filler, but kept it for a character building purpose. Not necessarily just to have it because you like it.
Right. Right. I mean, I do like Garlic Jr. as a character. I really do like the concept of Garlic Jr. He did get the immortality. He is stronger than Kami. He can usurp at any time. He's a legitimate threat to Earth early on. But given that he's just filler, he's not canon, it's a shame, really. Because I see him on par with King Piccolo. I really do. King Piccolo, of course, is canon, and Garlic Jr. isn't canon, so there's an automatic winner as far as that's concerned.
Then again, it's like, that's just how it is, and that's how you build as a content creator, I think.
Right. It's only a matter of time before Cooler becomes canon, though. It's only a matter of time. If we got Broly, we can get Cooler, I believe it.
I think so. Or Janemba, possibly. Who knows?
Or Janemba. Janemba would be a much bigger stretch, though. That would be a much bigger stretch.
You just have to scale him a lot differently in what we saw in the movie. Yeah.
I would make...
He could be like a being that other universes, like he draws his energy from them. That could work.
Yeah, that could work. Very
it's like,
easily.
Oh, he's like multi-universal because he's drawing from all the other 7 universes.
Yep. It all depends on what Dragon Ball Super Hero decides to throw at us. Like
Superhero. You always have to say about that. What do you think? Where do you think that's gonna go?
I have mixed opinions about that one. One,
I think it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be okay. One, I like the idea of, okay, this is a time skip because Pan is in kindergarten or in grade school, and we saw where Piccolo lives, so Piccolo becomes a bigger... Piccolo is my favorite character in Dragon Ball. Favorite character, hands down, Piccolo. Because he had his arc, it worked out really well, and he is that sage advice type. And not to mention, he's Namekian, so he can break limits easier than an Earthling can. So to see that he's got a bigger role, possibly, in this movie, I'm positive on that front. What I'm negative about is we haven't seen a whole lot as far as the bad guy in this movie. Now, they might be holding off on that one, like let's forget spoiling the bad guy and just spoil a few images of what's happening on Earth and stuff like that.
I see a bit of fighting to an extent, but I think it's like the start. I don't think they want to show the big moment because
they don't want to show the big moment. They don't. So as far as who is in battle, this is where I don't see. I'm not very positive about it because if Piccolo is having to fight, give Vegeta some credit. Piccolo is down there as far as power levels are concerned, as far as where power levels have gone. But Piccolo's still a legit fighter. We saw that during the Universal Survival Tournament. He's a legit fighter, but if he's holding his own against this bad guy, I don't think any new powers are going to come to the front. Now, there could be transformations when it comes down to whoever this bad guy is.
I mean, I think those two android things are gonna fuse at some point. I genuinely
at some
think
point.
That's what they're set up
at some
to be.
point,
Their
yeah.
design.
Yeah, it's still a close call. I'm 50-50 about it. I feel the same as I did with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Yeah.
When that came out, I was like, okay, they made a movie, they made a video game movie. I have to see it, but I don't expect anything good out of this. And then it ended up being a legit film. It wasn't the best film, but it was legit. I went and saw it a second time because it was good. And the way that they're doing the story, I feel positive about the second one. Now, would I have cast Jim Carrey as Dr. Ivo Robotnik? No. But to his credit, he fulfilled the role. So, I'm skeptical, but I am gonna watch it when it comes out. I need to watch it when it comes out.
I mean, with me, I think Jim Carrey's casting was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
I mean, they could have done like Willem Dafoe. Like I thought him as Green Goblin could have kind of fit that Ivo Robotnik role.
Fair. Or I could be Dr. Ivo Robotnik.
That was unexpected.
That's what I do. I just try to be a character whenever I can.
Speaking of game what ifs, how do you account for timelines?
How do I account for time? Okay, so what I'll do first is think. Okay, if there's a clear timeline, like Devil May Cry, that has a clear timeline. You have Devil May Cry 3, then Devil May Cry 1, then Devil May Cry 2, then Devil May Cry 4 and 5. You know, it's got a legit timeline set up. So, as far as doing the what if that someone requested, what if Goku was a son of Sparta? I don't know why I did that, but I did that. It came out pretty well. I did a split timeline as far as that's concerned, because there was 2 areas that Goku would be positive. I took the character of Goku and said, you know what? The woman that got with Sparta, she had 3 kids. And I decided to have that 3rd kid have Goku's personality, as opposed to it being Goku. And in the other timeline, it was he crash landed on Earth around when Sparta was still with the humans, and he was tough, so he was adopted into that family. He still went off and did his own thing, but he doesn't have any Devil Trigger. And he doesn't have Super Saiyan either. So he just survives as a Saiyan. He gets stronger with every battle. You know? So when I did that timeline, I got... it ended up getting weird because it started out as a split timeline as opposed to becoming a split timeline. As far as any other timeline was concerned, Sonic, I just went by the order of the games because Sonic has a clear growth when it comes down to the games.
I think Sonic's more of an interesting one because how properties shift over time. There is the cartoons that came out. There's the anime if you want to use that. There's so much material Sonic versus other stuff.
I voice acted for, I don't know if you know Lags What Ifs. You probably know him. I voice acted Robotnik for him. And in his What If Sonic Was in the Dragon Ball universe one, he approached it like, okay, the games were happening in order, but he did have some influences from Sonic X. Since I do video game what ifs as opposed to, if I were to look at properties that video games have manga, video games have anime to them, I probably would ignore a lot of the anime, a lot of the manga, and I would stick with strictly the video game concepts that were brought because that's where it originated.
Better, personally, because there's so much stuff that gets retconned for time if properties shift to another developer. It's like, oh, this thing's not canon anymore, but this thing is now.
Yeah, that's why I ignored the Sonic Boom franchise as far as that timeline. And as far as like something like the Mario
Boom's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny. I mean, I've seen the cartoon, and I like the cartoon. It's all right. It's not bad. It's got some good jokes in it.
The scaling's a bit toned back compared to something like Sonic X or some of the games. But
Roger did a very good job voice acting for Sonic. I didn't expect that. Like, all the voice actors did pretty good jobs. And as far as some of the jokes, they made me laugh. You know, when Knuckles, who is the big buff idiot, I do not like any of the only character design I like is Tails, because he's more of an engineer. You know, he's got the goggles, he's got his work pack, he's got his gloves, you know, stuff like that. As far as big buff stupid Knuckles, which is what they made, there was one.
Me a lot of how Raphael was written in the 2012 version of TMNT.
That's what I was going to say.
What he reminded me of.
He's the 2012 version of Raphael. Yes.
Which that dynamic works.
Yeah.
If there's someone he can butt heads more with, which he didn't do.
Right.
As much in the series. He's like, all right, son, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Because he was kind of lame-brained as far as that's concerned. Meanwhile, in the actual series, how often has Knuckles been fooled? Quite often. By the same guy.
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing is that you have to make him hard-headed enough, but gullible that he thinks too highly of himself. It's like, oh, Robotnik's worth trusting. He seems pretty smart.
Yeah. Yeah, like, even then, Robotnik offered fake evidence, so he's like, okay, let's do that. As far as because I wanted to get to the Mario timeline that I did. What if Mario grew up in Sarasaland as opposed to the Mushroom Kingdom? What I did there was, it's hard to make a connection because in Galaxy we have it revealed that the universe goes through several retcons at a time. That's
what I kind of liked about Galaxy, because it explains everything. It's like the universe basically is rewritten every occasional time.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed Galaxy for that reason, because it gave Rosalina a purpose. They weren't throwing a new character just at the wall. It gave Rosalina a purpose. And when that happened, I was like, okay, so I have to think about how the timeline really fits. So I went through, I made my own timeline as far as that's concerned. And about 90% of that timeline coincided with what MatPat did years ago in coming up with a game theory timeline. As far as the other 10%, I threw that out because I agreed with what he found. Now, I did get a comment too, like, I don't like that you did game theory here. I didn't like that you went to game theory as far as a timeline for the Mario franchise. I just responded to it like, well, I agree with it, and that's one thing. That's one thing.
He has some agreeable things, but I think the thing is, like, it depends who's writing for him to an extent.
Right.
Like, when Sansa's Nest came out, that joke's everywhere.
Yeah, that was.
It's memes everywhere because of how bad the writing was.
The writing was awful, and he even denounced that video. You know, good on him for staying behind his content and knowing when his content is trash. But that Mario timeline he came up with, I agreed with it 100%, because not because he went into detail as far as Donkey Kong and as far as the Donkey Kong timeline is concerned. I thought more along the lines of, from Mario's perspective, this makes sense. This makes a lot of sense. So let's take that timeline and apply it here as far as what's happened. Lucky for me, all I needed was the baby era. All I needed was the baby era to write a compelling story, because Sarasaland is its own creature. And
I always wondered what would have happened if Doki Doki Panic was canon to Mario. And that whole other game.
It kind of is.
Well, I mean, like, you just include all these other random characters.
Right.
That are now part of this universe.
If Subcon was canon, that'd be great. That'd be a good one. As far as Sarasaland, like, I felt bad in Odyssey, which is one of the reasons why I still haven't played Odyssey. Like, I've played a good amount of Mario games in my life, and I haven't played Odyssey yet because, and this is a bit, like, it doesn't really appeal to me because it's a lot of open. It's real open world. Like you go to different kingdoms, but there's no. Like, you have to discover anything by the seat of your own wit. Credit to the game, because that's kind of like how Banjo and Kazooie works. And that was an amazing game. But not only that, they had a perfect opportunity. A perfect opportunity. Daisy's in Smash, for crying out loud. Yeah. They had a perfect opportunity. The Sarasaland Kingdom. Yeah. Take us back to Sarasaland. Take us to the Muda Kingdom, take us to the Birabuto Kingdom, take us to the Chai Kingdom, take us to the Easton Kingdom. Take us to that world again. Because it was a good world. Super Mario Land, good game. Super Mario Land 2, everybody loved Super Mario Land 2 who played it.
I also feel bad what happened to Mario RPG, because basically it's in excellent mode.
That too!
Like, there's so many fun characters that you can introduce to the world, but it's like, nope. It's like
I loved Mallow's development. For him to be what he ended up being in Super Mario RPG. Now, granted, it's a side story, and they kind of skirt that with, oh, well, in Super Mario Galaxy, the world was just reborn without a Mallow and without a Geno. Okay, well, that's still not too good. What, are you going to go with the Star Spirits as canon? Because you have Paper Mario and you have Mario Party 5. That used the Star Spirits. And then that must have been retconned somewhere because Rosalina became a thing. And instead of the Star Spirits, you just have Star World.
I mean, it would be interesting if Rosalina is the end result of it.
That would be. She's the beginning and the end result, and she accepts this reality. What got me about Rosalina is...
That would make an infinite time loop, basically.
It would. It would. And it would make sense for all the different enemies and different characters and different everything that happens in the Mario world. It fits as far as that's concerned. What got me about Rosalina? Her backstory was dark. I didn't expect it to take the turn that it did.
Yeah, I was surprised for a Mario game. That was very impressive.
Yeah, you have kids playing. Oh, Mario game. Oh, we're gonna listen to more story. My mother's under that tree. Holy crap! Like, whoa!
When I initially thought about that, I played Pac-Man World 2. It's like, okay, I was thinking about that for a second.
What?
The main villain's stuck underneath a tree, and I was like.
Submit that to Matt Pat for a game theory. To Pac-Man World 2. Rosalina's mom was reincarnated as Pac-Man World 2's evil.
It all connects because of Smash Bros.
It makes sense. We're coming up with new what ifs we never thought about before here.
Yeah, I know one thing I wanted to do was to give like Deku like fairly godparents, because like this can be a very boring story. Because he's just gonna wish for whatever he needs, but also perpetually be miserable with his life of being a hero.
That's fun though, and that's one thing. Like that's one thing. I look at my content and I'm like, God damn, like. It's legit. It's what I want to do. It's not as fun as most other contents because other contents throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I try to be as logistic as I can because I like being as logistic as I can with the story.
What you'd want to do for your channel, though, because the thing is, like, I could do that the next day here and be like, yeah, it makes sense. Deku's just really miserable. He doesn't have a quirk, and that's why he was chosen.
So his quirk is that he gets fairies. I mean,
but the problem is he's in a perpetual loop, because if he gets a quirk, he loses them. Any wishes he's done is undone. Because how Fairly Odd Parents works, your wishes disappear.
Yeah, when you lose your fairies. Yeah.
So he can't wish for powers directly, or else that can...
You'd have to create a bond similar to Timmy Turner and the fairies, because because of the movie...
that's a completely different writing dynamic, because you have to keep Deku... still thinking
somewhat miserable.
Keep them,
yeah,
but also be a hero at the same time.
I mean, You had that with Fairy Godparents in some episodes when it came down to Cleft the Boy Chin Wonder. You had that sort of dynamic where he was a hero, but he still wasn't happy because he still had to go to his regular world. I would say if you were going to write that, I would first analyze Deku as a character, second analyze the relationship between Timmy and the fairies, and see what strings you can tie together without the whole thing falling apart. And
the main thing is that the relationship is inconsistent.
Yeah, it's really inconsistent, and that you can thank Butch Hartman's writing style for that one.
Yeah, man, I have my own conflicts with the dude. That's a difference.
I mean, I've said several times, like Fairy Godparents, okay, or Fairly Odd Parents, I should say. Fairly Odd Parents, it's a good show until they started adding characters. Poof the baby, okay, I can get around that, but once they introduced the friggin' dog, no. No.
I don't know. I think for me, it died when Chloe's introduced, because like.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more What If Universe in just a moment. But first, an important word from this important sponsor.
We will now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
That was Viacom's fault too, because they were telling him to add characters. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, that cartoon that was on Nickelodeon for a while. If they had fantastic show.
I know the final season is going to be really dark from what the voice actor said, which would have been interesting.
Well, it's not only that though. It's okay, like if that series continued, it would have been a bit darker, but they even said, the creators of the show even said they had plans for another season where Nick.
I should do a what if scenario if that happened.
Right. If
I might do that.
Nick joined the show. You know, the popular kid who, always crashes on a skateboard. He was an established character. What they did in that show was use established characters to further the plot. So, as far as the initial season, you had Jimmy, Sheen, and Carl. You also had Cindy and Libby to a minor degree. Then Libby and Cindy started becoming more prevalent characters, and they had their own growth, and that provided for a few seasons. And they openly said if there was another season, they would have said Nick. Okay, what would have happened with Nick? Well, he would have probably gone to Jimmy, asked for some sort of scientific way for him to get better at skateboarding or something like that. That probably would have made an episode. He would have been part of the crew. And then that awkward love triangle that some shows put forward would have happened because Cindy likes Nick, but Cindy also likes Jimmy. So that would have at least buffed it out for one more season as far as that's concerned. Fairly Odd Parents, however, they wanted new characters for this show. Why? You have Tootie. You have.
That's the weird thing with Butch Hartman. He establishes, like, to give him credit, he establishes good characters that could have filled that role, that the audience would have known who it was.
Right.
Like, I believe Fairy Island, that came out, you could have brought Chester back and made him more prevalent and be like, hey, his life got even worse or something.
You could have even brought, like, before the whole Unwish Island happened, you could have brought Evil Timmy back. His, not Evil Timmy, his friggin' imaginary friend. What was his name?
I think it was Gary.
Gary, yeah. You could have brought Gary back to try to, like, replace Timmy in his life or something like that. And I could see that as a big plot point, whereas he gets control of the fairies, wishes for his own family, and from then on, Timmy has a rival. In Chloe, Timmy just seems like he's complaining for all the wrong reasons.
Or something else that could have been interesting if they brought Butch in. This character's been bullying him this whole time. No, Butch, the gray bully guy.
Oh, like
that would have been fairly interesting. Like, he was built up this whole time. We learned that his life sucks, and that's why he bullies Timmy.
Yeah, Francis, I thought his name was.
Francis, I
Yeah, Francis. Yeah. Well, we were talking about Hartman.
I mean, he is a bully. That's probably
yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you could as far as mixing. As far as mixing, in January, when I want to get back into this, I haven't uploaded a whole lot lately because I've been.
I haven't uploaded the whole month of November, so don't put yourself.
I haven't had consistent uploads since my father died in April. Because at the time, I'm still going through it. It's a pain that you don't get through often.
Last year in November, I lost a couple myself.
Oh no!
I've been keeping fairly silent at this point, but I feel like it's better to address it now because I think this is what I'm gonna probably upload for December and just continue my break here.
Yeah,
come back in January is my end goal.
Yeah, if I can make it for January, I don't know because the family upstairs, which I have a lot of problems, like I'll hear a lot of the time, and I cannot get the silence that I need to record. Like right now, this is as silent as it's gonna get. What I decided to do for the rest of this year is just write scripts and address the pain that I'm feeling with Krampus. Now, normally when I do the 12 days of Krampus at the end of the year, I make notes about channels that help me get through the year. Channels with content creators, and I throw out just small, easy to edit videos saying thank you. This is what I recommend from their channel. They seem like pretty good people. Go ahead and watch them. And
I always want to like review channels, but the thing is like it's very subjective. Like I can understand why people like different elements of channels, even if I personally don't. Like that's a very more deeper thing. I understand more as a content creator now than I used to.
Right. See, and this year for the 12 years of Krampus, I'm writing more of a story.
That's a fun idea.
Yeah, I'm writing more of a story given the different characters that I have. So, like, again, I'm going to go to the notes. First one...
I wouldn't spoil too much. Like, we've almost gone over an hour here.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, we're almost at 2 hours, aren't we? Jeez.
Maybe we should just wrap it up, honestly.
Yeah, we should wrap it up. But this year is going to be a bit more depressing because I'm going through the pains that I felt throughout the year and what content creators have been able to offer. So,
I mean,
short explanation.
That as well.
Good conversation, though. I mean,
is there any things you want to plug here at the end, like which video you want people to watch first?
All right. Well, I will say check out the 12 Days of Krampus when it does come out. Where I'm going to show different YouTubers that you might be interested in. Might not. Oh well. I also have several scripts that are on the way in that are also parts to existing What Ifs. I already did What If Broly Landed on Namek Part 6. Check that one out. What If Krillin Was Born Female is in the works. I have the script written. I also have the script written for What If Frank West, the protagonist from Dead Rising, is in Raccoon City, which is Resident Evil. So there is that, and I already did a trilogy on that one where he went down Claire's path, and the last script that I have to write is What If Kid Buu Was Turned Good, Part 4. So if you want some interesting What If content in the realms of video gaming and Dragon Ball alike, check out my channel in the description below. I'm sure Drew has put that there, or I'm not sure.
At the end or somewhere. Pin comment.
Yep, it'll be there. But yeah, check out that channel. I have a bunch of stuff on that channel that is already ready to go as far as What Ifs. I plan on coming back mid-January as far as regular uploads because January is
very
crossover month.
We're in a very similar position. That.
Yeah, it's rough, but I just, other than that, I have to say thank you one and everyone that has commented, watched the videos, subscribed. It's you all that lets this content keep going. You wouldn't believe how important you all are to any channel's growth.
I will agree with that statement. I don't think if it's for the people who are leaving comments and letting us know how much you care, like we probably might give up or more question ourselves of why we're doing this. even more.
That's why I respond to whatever comments I can. If I notice that my channel got a new comment, I'm like, okay, all right.
But yeah, don't forget to DM me your Twitter. I don't think I'm following you there.
I don't actually, like, I have a Twitter, but I don't use it. That's the thing. Because I don't like, okay, social media should be social, sure, but I don't like Twitter. I don't like how toxic it is.
People retweet it.
Okay, all right. I'll think about that one. I will send you my Twitter if you want to go ahead and call me out on it. Just fair warning, I don't use my Twitter often. Like, I really don't.
Oh, this is just for me. I don't care if the audience has it.
Fair. Okay, fair. But thanks for having me on the show, though. This was great. I did like this conversation.
No problem. I hope everyone in the audience remembers that there's many things that go into making what continuities you use, whatever material you want to, and at the end of the day, it belongs to you. It's kind of the whole summary of this conversation, as haven't really had much to talk about this aspect of making what ifs before, but always remember, in What If Universe, there are endless possibilities, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye!
Hello everyone, Uncle Joker here. Make sure to subscribe to the Society if you want to see more content, and use those opposable thumbs of yours to rate the video. If you want to be notified whenever I make a joke, hit that bell, because, you know, YouTube isn't enough of a joke as it is. Until next time, toodaloo!